It's fascinating stuff. India has this incredible history of mastering knowledge, from ancient gurus memorizing vast texts long before everything was written exactly, right up to today's tech innovators. There's clearly a system, a kind of deep understanding of learning there. And the best part, for me anyway, is that these aren't just like quaint traditions. They actually hold up. Some are surprisingly backed by modern science. They can genuinely help you learn faster, whether it's, I don't know, do language coding, a practical skill, anything really. These are potentially transformative tools for anyone's learning process. Okay, let's get into the first one. Secret number one, sharpen your mind through meditation, or Dhyana. Yes, Dhyana. And this is key in this tradition. Learning starts with the mind, with the state of the learner, not just the book or the screen. So it's like prepping the soil before planting the seed, precisely. Ancient scholars, think Patanjali and the Yoga Sutras, talked about achieving ekagrata. It's not just chilling out, it's this intense, single-pointed focus. Yeah, where distractions just fade away. It creates this incredibly clear mental space, perfect for absorbing new information. And how does that work? Practically, does meditating for, say, 10 minutes actually boost your memory right away? Well, it's about building that capacity for sustained attention. Think of it like training a muscle. Regular practice, even just 5 or 10 minutes of focused breathing before you study, reduces that mental clutter. Neuroscientifically, it strengthens brain networks tied to focus, executive function. So when your mind is calm and clear, information doesn't just bounce off, it sinks in much more effectively. It becomes foundational, right? Like setting your internal dial to learn before you even start makes sense. Okay, secret number 2, this one sounds intriguing. Use mantras to program your brain. Programming your brain, that sounds intense. It does, but it's rooted in a very old, very clever practice. Mantras in ancient India, yes, they had spiritual dimensions, but they were also incredible cognitive tools. Mnemonics, really. How so? Just repeating stuff. It's more than just repetition, it's the way they used sound, the rhythm, the specific vocalization. It engages multiple senses. Think about how huge texts like the Vedas were passed down orally for centuries perfectly. Mantras were key to that memory technology, so the sound and rhythm were crucial, not just the words. Exactly. It taps into the brain's love for patterns, for music, for sound. Repeating key ideas, formulas, vocabulary. Turning them into a rhythmic phrase you actually say aloud. It encodes them much more deeply into long-term memory, like carving a pathway in the brain, kind of, yeah. It makes the memory trace much more resilient. So the practical takeaway, maybe turn that tricky formula or definition into your own little chant. Repeat it daily, see what happens. I like that. Brain programming via personal theme songs, yeah. Moving on to secret number 3. Follow the Gurukul method, learn by teaching. This feels almost obvious, but maybe we don't do it enough. It's fundamental to the traditional Gurukul system. Students didn't just listen, they had to explain what they learned, they had to teach it, right? There's that great Indian proverb, when one teaches, two learn. The act of teaching forces you to clarify everything in your own mind first. Yeah, you can't really explain something well if you don't fully get it yourself, precisely. It highlights any gaps in your knowledge immediately. If you stumble while explaining, boom, you know exactly what you need to review. So it's like instant feedback, exactly. It forces deeper processing, what's some called the protege effect. You have to synthesize the information, structure it logically. It sticks much better than just passively reading. So the advice is, after you study something, try explaining it, mute to a friend, or even just record yourself. Absolutely, it shifts you from being a receiver to an active owner of the knowledge. Big difference. Okay, on to number 4. This one taps into something very visual. Tap into visualization, the power of yogic imagery. Yes, and this wasn't just thinking in pictures. Ancient Indian sages used vivid, often embodied, mental images and stories to remember enormous amounts of information. The Vedas, the epics, they're full of rich imagery for a reason. Embodied imagery, what does that mean exactly? Well, sometimes it involved associating concepts with specific symbols, archetypes, or even sensations or locations within one's own body. It wasn't just abstract, it was often experiential. Like mapping knowledge onto an internal landscape. Wow, okay, so much deeper than just a mental sketch. Why is that so powerful for memory? Our brains are fundamentally wired for images and stories. We remember visuals far better than abstract text. But yogic imagery often makes it multisensory, more unique, maybe even emotionally resonant. Okay. It creates a much stronger memory trace, so if you're struggling with something dense or boring, try turning it into a mental movie. Or a story, exactly, or a symbolic journey. Convert those dry notes into vivid mental pictures, diagrams you can walk through in your mind, even little narratives. Make it engaging internally. That really flips the script on note taking. Very cool. All right, our final secret, number 5. This brings it all together. Balance learning with lifestyle. Ahara, Nidra, and Vihara. Food, rest, and activity. Yes. And this is so fundamental in traditional Indian thought. Learning wasn't seen as separate from life. A healthy body, a balanced lifestyle was considered essential for a sharp mind. Ahara, proper food. Nidra, good sleep. Vihara, balanced activity or recreation. We know this stuff intellectually, yeah, but when we're stressed or busy studying, these are often the first thing to go, right? But Ayurveda, the traditional medicine system, is very clear. You cannot separate mind and body. So poor diet, bad sleep, no exercise. They actually block learning directly. They impair focus, memory consolidation, your ability to problem solve. Your brain simply can't function optimally if your physical foundation isn't solid. It puts learning in a much bigger context. It's holistic. Optimizing learning isn't just about study hacks, it's about nurturing your entire system. So the practical steps are, well, pretty basic but crucial. Aim for that 7-8 hours of sleep, definitely. Eat nourishing food, not junk. And move your body daily. Even 15 minutes of yoga or a brisk walk makes a difference. It's about creating the right conditions for your brain to thrive. Exactly. These aren't optional extras. They're the foundation for sustainable, deep learning. So there we have it, 5 ancient Indian secrets. Dhyana for focus, mantras for memory and coding. The Gurukul method of teaching to learn. Yogic imagery for visualization. And balancing lifestyle. Powerful stuff. They really are. And especially relevant today, I think. In this age of constant distraction, these techniques offer a way back to a more focused, deeper way of engaging with knowledge, reconnecting with our brain's natural ability. It definitely gives you something to think about. The next time you sit down to learn something new, maybe pick one of these. Which one would you try first? Meditation, teaching a friend, visualizing. How might that ancient wisdom actually skyrocket your own learning?